I've been playing this for about 36 hours now, unexpectedly engrossing as it turns out. So I thought I'd record this video and just go through the second campaign, which is Europe. I've gone through all of the US now, so it'll be interesting to try out that other campaign from the start with what I know now, and maybe give some hints, tips and tricks that I've learned over the time. So if we have a look in the campaign...
The land of opportunity. Demonstrate your talent and rise to become the most powerful train.
The old continent is constantly yielding great new inventions. Be part of this rapid technological progress and found numerous thriving transport companies in Europe.
Never quite sure how annoying that guy really is, but let's go for Europe. I haven't played that one yet and
The
see how we
railroad
go.
is currently conquering all of Europe. Right in the middle is a young alpine republic where a mighty mountain massif blocks the way to the sunny south. The rocky colossus can only be crossed with great difficulty. Time for a bold undertaking. Crossing the Alps from north to south, a railroad tunnel through the Swiss Alps will make our young nation the most important route from the North Sea to the Mediterranean.
Well, you heard it here first. Well, or second, third, or depending on how many other videos you've watched. Who knows? Actually, it has to be said, I'm interested at how quickly I've got into this game. I was always quite a big fan of the old Transport Tycoon, and it's never really been replaced, I don't think. I tried Train Fever, which is sort of the predecessor to this, and you know, it just wasn't the same. You haven't got all the same modes of transport, and it didn't quite have the flexibility that Transport Tycoon did. But this, yeah, I think he can do it. It's finally here.
It is August in the year 1872, and the construction of the Gotthard Tunnel can begin. No idea why we of all people have been awarded this monster project. Could it be that we are the only Swiss company that applied? Or was our bid so ridiculously low that no competitor could match it? The fact is we have 8 years and a very tight budget to build the longest tunnel in the world. And we've never built a tunnel before. So, let's get started.
Okay, so as it says, you can play the tutorials before the campaigns, but realistically the tutorials are just teaching you where to click and what buttons you have available. So really, until you play through the campaign, that kind of teaches you how you're connecting up all the different industries, and how you might want to think about how the economy will work and things like that. I have to say, in some ways it was quite a steep learning curve, and I've had to go off and do a few bits and bobs of Googling to figure out a lot of the best ways of doing things. So let's go through this one from the start and see where it leads us, and there's sort of gotchas that I can point out. What you may also want to do right at the start, I should mention, is have a look at the medals page. So, I mean, there's no real particular reason to do these, but if you're a completionist and you like to get all the ticks, then you want to have a look at these first, because some of them are time sensitive, and some of them, if you get too far along, you might find you've gone past the point at which you can get that medal. So it has to be said, I'm not too fussed with these, especially the things that have got time limits and stuff on, because you can really, you've got a war between how you... I think maybe most people play these games because they like to make something perfect and nice, everything efficient, and nice curves on the rail lines and efficient junctions, and obviously if you're rushing you can't do that, so different play styles there, I guess. But definitely you want to look at this at the start to figure out if you want to try and do any of these. So, what are we actually up to? So we'll hit start mission.
3 railroad lines already cross the Alps, but once our bold project is complete, The Gothard Railway will be the fastest, most direct connection between North and South. The hard niece of the Gothard Massif towers before us. We have enough workers, ragged but strong Italians who have hired themselves out for a pittance. But we aren't going to dig our way through the mountain with our bare hands. We have to transport the necessary equipment to the construction site at the northern portal.
Okay. So it's interesting to compare this with, say, the US one. I wonder if the US one is intended to be done first. So this is saying deliver the first tools to the tunnel construction site. That implies a number of different things you're going to have to connect together. The tool factory's got a bunch of requirements, so you have to feed it with a few different things. Okay, so it's saying build a truck station and a depot. So if we click here, we've got both of these clickable, so we can look at what we've got. So what you should find, if you click one after the other, they disappear. However, if you click and drag, they pop out into a new window. So you can then get both of them open at the same time. You've got your little target there, which will take you straight to whatever it is you want to look at. So it's saying we just need to have a line with vehicles that can carry tools. That probably implies that the tools are going to come from somewhere else, so I wonder if they've already built something for us. Let's go ahead and do what they ask. So the tools factory is here. So we go down to our road icon and we'll build, so we go to cargo section and we'll build ourselves. Let's go for a standard size truck station. Now you rotate with the N and the M keys so you can line it up nicely. Trick I usually do is to position the truck station as far along the road as it will let me while still activating the highlight. So in this case it's not possible because they've built the train up there. I might put it up here and shorten my journey times a little bit. So the closest we're going to get it road-wise will be this side of the rail line. I'm not going to go too close to the rail line just in case I need to build another line or do some other work coming through there later. So that's one truck station. We're still on pause, there's nothing going on that we want to leave the simulation running for, so we'll build everything on pause. Now let's just double check where we're going, so we use the thing there. Okay, so there's already a truck station there. I probably haven't read the instructions carefully enough. So we've got the truck station there we want to deliver to. So we need a depot and some vehicles. So we go back to road, go to the depot. It's a road depot rather than tram depot. The closer you can place this to the road, you save a little bit of money. You don't have to build a little connecting road. Right, so we need to set up a line. So we'll hit line, new line. Now I renamed these very early on because you can start to lose track of what's what. So what we're delivering here, we're doing tools to tunnel site. Okay, we'll add stations. I think we can see the icon there for that station. Let's try that. Is that where we go? Yep, that's where we go. Nice slow bendy road. And we've only got horse transport to do it as well. So we click on the depot and buy our vehicles. We need something that can transport goods, so we've got the horse wagon. We look at what it carries here, and you've got goods on there, so it'll carry 4. We can have 5 on this one. So your speed on that is 20 instead of 15, so you're going to get more trips in a certain amount of time. Running costs are a fair chunk higher. I'm sure you could do the sums, but in this case I'll just go for the bigger one. So let's get ourselves, just get a couple for now. Now they've popped up in our depot window there. We can do set line all. Now here you have a new line button, so you can actually create a new line that immediately have those 2 carts on if you want to. But we've already created the line, so we'll just select it there. They are ready to go now, and should appear once we unpause the sim. So let's see, building a truck station, depot, got the carts, we've set up the line and deployed it. So if we start the sim, okay, so that hasn't immediately recognised it, so perhaps the completion criteria is going to be that we actually have to deliver some tools. So let's have a look at some of the information we have. If we click on the factory here, there you go, see production is 8 of 100. Now if you have a strong transportation service and you're transporting everything, it will often be the case that the limit will increase, and it will signal that to you. It will sometimes tell you something like keep up high transport for 3 months or something, and then you'll know it's going up. You can see it here down at the bottom, it's no upgrade or downgrade scheduled. So we've got 16. If you go to details, it's telling you it's got 80 stored tools already made. It can also store raw materials if it's got to manufacture stuff, so it can be useful to come in here when you're trying to gauge how much stuff you need to send or receive, because if it's stored in there and hasn't even made it to your truck station, then you know you might suddenly get it's got a pent-up demand there ready to satisfy. So you can see it's just chucked out some of its stored stuff into the truck station there, so that's now waiting for one of my trucks to come back and pick it up. So the thing you want to bear in mind, I guess, with the fact that there can be stuff stored in here is that, especially for some of these campaign missions, they might have like 400 in there or something. So even if the production is low or not even happening, stuff can still appear in your truck station. Right, so they're trundling off. He's got 0, and he's got 0. So now there's stuff waiting. Let's use the reverse button to turn them round. Now, unlike Transport Tycoon, it doesn't have the nice list of destinations or anything, so you can't immediately tell it where you want it to go exactly, but often you can use the reverse button to make it go somewhere. Very slowly in the case of these old missions. So while they're trundling, we can have a look at some of the other stuff. So you get your finance graph here, which shows you a few years back. You've got your running costs and your income. On your details page, you've got your age, what the value is if you sell it. Now, if you buy something and immediately sell it, I believe you get back pretty much all of the cash. You can see here it's worth 98% of its original value. So, yeah, it's not like when you drive a real car off the lot and you've suddenly lost, a huge chunk of cash. And what you'll see here is on the running costs, you've got the running cost and then plus 0%. Now, as the vehicles get older, their percentage starts to go up. So actually, if you've got old vehicles, even if they haven't reached their maximum age, they can start to get expensive and you can start to mysteriously lose money. So it's worth keeping an eye on that, and it's a real gotcha that when they get over their maximum age, you may really struggle to make any money with them. And that can be tricky because you can get yourself kind of backed into a corner where if you can't afford to replace something, you're kind of stuffed because you're never going to make money with it again if it's got too old. So something to keep on top of there. mellow tunes of this game. It's very much in accordance with the genre, I'd say. Alright, so we've got those guys trundling. Quite a bit of trundling to do. We'll talk a little bit about the camera controls here. So, yeah, right mouse and drag, you can move around. You can track road vehicles by hitting their little bullseye. That zooms right in on them. And then you can still zoom out and keep centered and it will track it along. Just get off of that one. So your middle mouse button or your mouse wheel click. Oh, whoops! No, that's just that's a scroll. So if we click the middle mouse wheel, we can. My middle mouse wheel is a bit finicky. There you go. You can go up and down, and side to side, so you can change your sort of rotation if you really need to get in close on something. Some of these windows down. So actually we've got quite a few tools building up there. As each cart only takes 5, we've already got 20 built up. Let's check production. Oh, so production's leapt up to 92 there, so we're going to need a lot more horses. So I think there are some rules of thumb you can do as to how many you'll need, but I tend to be quite conservative and just buy a few and see how it goes. So let's add 4 on there. These should hoover up everything in one go. Yeah, that's going to clear them out. Of course that'll be relatively rapid, so it's probably going to encourage the production to increase as well. This factory is a bit weird because it's not taking any input. Normally you'd need some raw materials, but I guess it's a special factory and it just makes tools. I think your input's normally metal and wood, or metal and plastic, I believe. I think you can do either. I have found that slightly confusing on some of the requirements things. Let's see if we've got any other businesses up here. No, so I don't think you've got anything with a requirement in there. Oh, here we go, there's this one. So here you've got requirements and products. So it looks like it's saying that for one tool you get 2 stone, which no doubt our next task will be to dispose of that. Looks like our truck's almost arrived. So sometimes you've got your requirements here, and you have a bunch of requirements and lines to separate them. So it might say you need, tool and plastic, and then a line like or tool and wood. So you don't always have to supply every single thing that's pictured on there. You just have to supply a certain combination of stuff. Actually, I find it slightly hard to read. Sometimes you've got your raw materials.
Now the mountain is being hollowed out. Amazing how much rubble builds up. It is impossible to haul all of that away with horse-drawn carts. We need a proper rail line so that we can remove the gigantic amounts of excavated material from the construction site.
Okay, so here we had that stub of track already. So yes, the requirements. I've seen some where the factory will show like an oil and a grain, and what it actually turns out is that you can supply either oil or grain and it will work. So I still haven't quite figured out how you tell when that's the case. So we've got a question mark there. Let's click on the question mark.
High up in the mountains, so it has been said here since time immemorial, there is a mountain crystal of unimaginable beauty. An old alpine goatherd supposedly knows the whole tale.
Okay, so we'll leave that one for now. It's here on our left if you want to go back to it. And they do these weird little quests where you basically have to keep clicking on your little bullseye to move somewhere, and then there'll be another question mark to click on and something to do. Right, so we're supposed to be building a train, aren't we? Let's double check where our things are. Close the gap between the ends. Display the contour lines. If you lay the tracks in small steps, they adapt to the terrain better. Yes, that's very true. So if we pop down to our little data layers button here, And then we've got our console lines. This is very useful because basically what you want to do is where you can follow the console lines, or you may have to draw across them to try and get your sort of desired angle. You don't want it going too steep. So they're saying do it in smaller sections, it conforms to the terrain. What that's also telling you is if you do it in longer sections, it smooths it out more and you get a better, faster, but more expensive train line. So we've just got the one type of track to choose from at the moment. So we want to try and keep speeds up if we can. So usually drag it a bit and try and see the point at which the cost starts to just leap up. Now the construction tool here is pretty good, and you can let go of the end and grab it again to sort of see where you're at and take a bit of time to fiddle around. So you can see it's starting to build up a bit grey there, which is where it's going to build an embankment. Now it looks to me like we've got a reasonable amount of cash, and actually, unless you're building bridges or tunnels, none of this stuff's usually that expensive. So so you're building out here because I'm sort of going up a bit of a slope there. If you follow the middle of the contour lines, where the sort of the arrowhead of that contour line is, you're taking the path of least resistance. But that also needs a somewhat tighter curve, so we get slower speeds. Now we're very early here, so the trains are going to be super slow. Let's pause while we build this. Yeah, so none of this makes that much difference actually. So the thing here is, you see, if I drag it up to the arrow point of the contour line where I want to go there, it's actually making not really a very good curve, and it's maybe putting me a bit pointing too far this way. So what I might do is build a partial curve first, and then it will let me do a straight more easily. So it's trying to burrow into the land a bit there when I drag it further. So let's come back here, because we don't want to back it into a corner where it's suddenly got to do an impossible slope. So let's try that, and then we can, so it's a bit straighter here. It's quite nice and getting almost full speed. Going for quite a deep cutting there, as you can see though, because I've sort of stopped here and started again. It hasn't built up. It didn't build up as much embankment there, and now it's got more work to do. But there's no more contour lines we have to cross here, so that should mean it's fairly flat, and it will get a chance to level out without trying to build a tunnel or something. So where do I want it to? I'm going to have to work out where I want it to reverse on itself and start the next curve. So I'll just keep up a reasonable speed here. So I can't actually see the other end of this track very well. Okay, so you can see they've started the tunnel there. You see, I can actually snap to that tunnel in there. So there's another the construction system on this is really pretty good. So you can build part of a tunnel into the hill and then snap onto it later and carry it on. So I'm going to start at that end because I couldn't see what I was doing very well. And just drag it here and see what that does. So that looks a reasonable line it's made for me there. Nice and smooth, so we'll do that in one section. Alright, so that's happy. Easy for me to grab onto this, so let's go and see it. Got another question mark there, but let's leave that for now. So, sorry, we've already got the depot open. Go to buy trains. Now, I've only looked at the American trains so far, so these are all new to me. Everything's smaller. The American trains all look bigger. Okay, so what have we got? We've still got a reasonable amount of cash in the bank, so maybe we could splash out? It looks to me like it's going to produce quite a lot of stone. So this is 15 kilonewtons and 50 kilowatts of power. So you've got more power. This is a bit more suitable for a bigger train, a longer train, which we're probably going to want to build later on. You can get away with having quite a not powerful train, but its acceleration is much worse, and so unless it's quite a long straight line, you start to lose a lot of time. And time is money on these because of their running costs. Let's compare the running costs. Somewhere knocking on for almost twice as expensive to run this one. But you know, it's a pain to get stuck with a train that's not man enough later on. So while we've got the cash, I think I'll spend it. Another thing to note is that actually the money you start with, so far on all of these, when you get near the bottom, you get a message about the investors grumbling, and then they give you a whole chunk of cash. As far as I can tell, there's no disadvantage for the game. You don't lose any points or medals or anything for doing that. So it may be best to just sort of expect that or plan for that, rather than flogging yourself and trying to build something on the cheap, because they often will end up giving you more than twice as much money as you originally started with. But there is a limit, so you probably only get 2 or 3 additional lots of cash. So we've got our locomotive. We need something that can carry stone. So it's probably going to be an open wagon. So at the moment we don't have any other choices. Later on you may get more modern rail cars, wagons, and then you might have a choice between a smaller, older, cheaper wagon or a bigger, newer, faster one. So we've just got this choice for the moment. So how many do we think we're going to need? Taking the train out of service is slightly annoying, so it takes a while for it to get to the depot often, and you know you're sort of losing money and time then. So it's saying all the way this time 500. The capacity of this thing is 4. So how many goes is that going to be? Maybe I'll try for 6. They are fairly expensive vehicles in this, so you have to be a little bit careful. And the running costs are also quite a lot. The running cost there is about 21k, and your running cost on the locomotive itself was 36. So you know, adding things to the trains does really rack up their running cost as well. You've got to be careful. You don't want to have anything running empty or really cut into your profits quite noticeably. So we got that thing. Now we didn't create the line, but let's create the line. So it looks like you drop your stone off here. This must be a dump site there. So we will do set line, new line, stone. Always catches me out. It looks like it's highlighted and it'll overwrite. Stone to dump. Howdy. Where does it go first? To there, and then to our station at the dump. Alright, done. Something to mention here, if you are on the train window, you can actually zoom in and out inside the window a little bit, so you can get close. Oh, you can zoom inside the thing. That's interesting, I didn't even know it had an inside. That's weird. It doesn't look like he's got any of his wagons though, it's just the locomotive. Okay, so that's ready to go. So if we hit full speed on the simulation, it should zoom out. So even at 4 times speed, he's still accelerating. His top speed is 5. He's just reached it now. They do take a while. You have to be a bit careful with your construction and stuff, because once they lose their speed on hills or corners, it is increasing your time and your costs. And it can make the difference between the route working and not working sometimes. Well, he's making good progress. I've really got some stone weight there. 22. Oh, seems to be filled up already. His production is a maximum of 20, so that's not so high. He's got no stored. Okay, we'll see how that goes. Maybe it's not going to be... Well, I'm already behind, but... Okay. Let's check up on this, actually. Now, of course, actually, because this is the supply for the tunnel, if I increase this will probably make the stone increase as well. So it looks like I need some more vehicles there. Let's go crazy and go for number 4. You see we only had the one line on there. It just shows you the appropriate lines for the vehicle usually. Tidy up the screen a bit. Often it seems to end up with just a million windows everywhere. Should improve it slightly. Zoom in. Okay, so actually we're not going to get another thing to do.
Day and night we dig, blast, dump, but we are still falling behind. We are blatantly behind schedule and have already exceeded the original budget by more than double. The Federal Council has even called an emergency session because of us. We urgently need more powerful drills that don't break constantly. We should build a workshop for that. That would speed up our project tremendously.
Well, I spoke too soon then. I thought it was going to keep us waiting for tasks. At some point we're going to have to transport some passengers, and there's another passenger station there. Okay, so it's worth noting that there are freight and passenger stations. So I believe the rule is you can only load freight at freight stations, but you can drop off freight at passenger stations. So that's quite useful because you can send all your trains into just the one station at a town and drop off the freight for the town. So if you click on the town, it actually shows you what things it can accept. So you see here it says the population is... It says these things are all poor because we're not delivering any of these things. The more of these things you can deliver and the more variety, the quicker the town will start growing. So you can see here you've got sort of, these are standard 6 types of things. I think all towns accept the same things, just in different amounts. So you've got tools and food, generic goods, construction material, machines and fuel. So they're all going to come from industries with a freight station. But like I say, you can just build one big passenger station and drop your stuff off there. And then you might use trucks to circulate it around your city, depending how big it is. So let's go back to our new thingy. So we can use our trick of trying to make the freight station a bit further along the road. Rotate with our N and M keys again, so we get a good line up. So I think it goes... Yeah, I don't take the mickey too much on these. I like to have it safely in range. But we'll pop that one there. So we need a new line. This was tools to workshop, wasn't it? I haven't had to deal with any of the really big sandbox maps yet. I suspect you might need a cleverer naming system when you've got 20 towns instead of 2. But this works for these missions. So we've got to pick up the tools first, which will be that truck stop. We'll drop it there. So I've paused again while I'm doing all of this. You know, if you do want to get your medals and things, then the more you pause, the better. And also, if you're not currently making money, you want to be paused while you fix that. And while I've got cash reserves, of course, I don't need to leave the thing running to try and bring in cash for me to build things. But you will end up in that situation, and then you've got to decide, you know, am I happy with the way things are? Is there anything I need to keep my eye on? Or can I just, you know, let things run and the cash roll in while my attention is somewhere else? You know, without things just going wrong. Okay, so the same horses for this one. It's a long route, so to get frequency, you're going to want quite a few. Now, am I going to run out? Have I increased production? Still no upgrade or downgrade. It's at 100. Well, there's quite a lot stored though, so it's probably producing more than I'm transporting. So maybe we'll just start with 6 of these for the other route. There's the tools to the workshop. Now these are going to clean the place out without them filling up. Oh, you noisy bugger, you can go away. What I like on this that you can actually see how busy things are. What's that? Wow, that's really chucking them out now. So you can see down here the cargo that's sort of waiting to load. It's just appearing down there. You can also see this on the factory. So these are the stored things inside the factory. So if it had raw materials, you probably see them stacked somewhere else. Pretty cool. It's a nice game. This it's got some real nice details in it. I'm impressed. So one of my friends who saw this game was marking how nice the graphics and things were, which is not something you always get with you know, the more simulation-y games. But it's a quality product. I mean, of course, certainly at the moment when I bought this. It's relatively expensive for this kind of game. You know, it's priced quite close to a full major studio release, rather than the price of some of the more indie games. But it's a big game. You know, I've only had this for just over a week, I guess. I think I've probably had 2 weekends out of it, and I've already clocked up 36 hours. And in many ways, I'm often not that big of a gamer, but it's got me. What's going on? Train's full. Oh, so we're going to steam through that tool delivery requirement with our first lot. So how's our station doing? 20 stones. Waiting. So our train's probably still about the right size. Might be able to see that. No, so there's no picture of anything in the sort of waiting areas here. I guess it's not a big enough amount. But you can see all our lorries have already delivered their goods, and they're just sort of trickling from here into here now. It doesn't look like there's actually any way of viewing that there's sort of stuff in here. 5. Well, no, I thought that was going to go up. Or didn't we just have a whole bunch of trucks deliver? No, it looks like they went empty. Okay, that's weird. I thought they'd pick stuff up. Usually something worth checking when you're sending your first lot, actually, that they are full and you don't want to reverse them immediately so they get filled up before they run their first journey and waste money. But we're still doing well on the cash side. Let's have a look at what this question mark was. I think this is going to launch another...
The old man says that he only
okay.
knows the crystal from tales and legends, but his young granddaughter often wanders high up into the mountains with her goats. The girl scrambles through the rocks like a mountain goat. You can hardly keep up with her.
Follow the clue and click on the question mark. Okay, so it must just be this crosshairs again. So down there is another question mark. That must be what we're looking for.
So, it's supposed to be around here somewhere. The girl shouted to us that a peculiar rock formation points toward the legendary mountain crystal before she nimbly climbed away.
Right, what does that mean? It usually means you've got to use the terrain tool to do a bunch of digging, and I may not waste the money at the moment. So if we press the crosshairs, it should target us. Points towards... Okay, so I guess this is the rock formation. So I'll leave that to one side at the moment. We can come back from the window here. Hopefully the suspense won't be too much for you. Alright, so our other deliveries are now trickling in. See, it's just going up sort of one at a time there, even though we've delivered all 5 in one chunk. Alright, that should take us over.
Fantastic. The new drills are a blessing. Where earlier 3 machines would break down in just one day, today it's only 1 every 3 days. The Federal Council is very happy. Or, well, maybe not quite as upset.
There's a lot of grumpy people in these games. Okay, so we'll carry on and see if it gives us another mission, or it may just be that we've got to wait for that stone. Now sometimes these special buildings stop accepting things once they've done their job, but it looks like that's fine, still going. So, should we speed things up? We've got a hell of a lot of tools waiting now, so we may be able to speed this up by building some more trucks. Wow, we've got a lot of tools. Now, you could consider building a train station, but I am not sure I can be bothered. So, let's build a whole bunch more horse cars. So we're building up a reasonable stash of stone there, and I think our train was taking only 24 at a time, wasn't it? So we definitely need a bigger train now. So let's send him to the depot now while he's close to it. I've still got some cash, so as soon as he gets in here we'll pause him, because your trains are usually your big money makers. And they can chew up quite a lot of cash while they're sitting in here, so I pretty much always pause if there's a train in a depot. Right, now we're going to try and increase the production there, so let's double the size of our train. You have got to watch out for the length, of course. If it extends more than the length of the station, you can run into problems. One of the obvious problems is the points. What you may want to do is make sure you don't build points too close to the end of the station. That gives you a bit more wiggle room. But otherwise, say if he comes in down here and he's overlapping this even slightly, and his next stop's over here, he will just get stuck. And I've run into this problem, and you know, some of your trains where they're delivering millions every time they stop, you can suddenly just end up in debt because they're also burning a million in between stops, and you find you've got one or two of your trains stuck somewhere and you're suddenly not in a good position. And equally, even worse than that, if you're minus money, you can't fix the track. So that's something to watch out for later on, but we should be fine for now. So now he's been to the depot, we actually have to set him back on his line. There isn't just a sort of leave depot button. But one of the few annoyances with this game, I think. Close here because he's quite noisy. Right, so he's going. We'll see how long this takes. So, I mean, we could be brave here and spend some money on making the passenger connection now. That will mean we'll need to signal and double some of this track here. But that's a reasonably interesting thing to talk about. There's a few strategies you probably want to use for that. So let's go for this. Now, I am going to regret having placed this here because it's limiting my options for where the track can go. I have to go a tighter turn. Although, with these very slow trains, that probably isn't going to matter. So let's start at this end because it's a bit more complicated. Start with the outside track because I can probably more easily build on the inside of the curve once I've lined it up with that truck station a bit. So how wide do I want to go? I'm also making this journey longer by making it wider, so actually at the start where we're still accelerating anyway, let's go a bit tighter. Okay, so actually I don't need to worry about the curve too much because it looks like we're going to easily make around there. Okay, no, it's very must be there, so let's go for that, that looks reasonable. And then, maybe like that. Now see, that's spending quite a lot of money actually because it's making a big cutting. But I think that's okay. It's also going quite slow there. Alright, let's do this in a couple of sections and see if we can come up with a better solution. I think it's going to have to be too much wiggle there to line them up. Let's try this. I suspect the track tool might have been better for that second half. Okay, so we're only thinking we'll have one train on this stretch, so we can ignore signalling and other bits and pieces. So up here we have a double track station. So do I want to double the track along here? It's quite a long stretch, so I think I will. Now, it looks like there's enough space between the road and the thing. It's probably tighter at this end with the junction, so now how do I want to do this? I'll leave that connected up. Okay, so we'll start closer to the That's not happy. It's a tricky one. No. Okay, so that's probably not going to work. Now, one thing to mention here is you'll see it's been snapping to various places which can cause problems. If you hold shift while you're doing this, it stops trying to think. for you, and you can drag things into exactly the position you want. And that's definitely a useful tip. So shift for sort of free build with no snapping. Right, so that's not working. Let's delete this connection here at the moment. Right, now it's happy. So in this case I probably want it to snap next to, but not into the other line. Now actually once they're next to each other it snaps really nicely, and you can just sort of draw along the side of the line and mirror it to a nice double track. And we'll make sure we can do the whole lot in one go this way. Although actually because of this double track bit, the sensible thing to do will be to delete that right hand side track with its connection and make this completely independent, because we'll probably use the left hand track just for the stone train and the right hand track just for the passenger train, and not bother with any signalling or crossovers or anything. So go for there. We will delete this last piece of track. Now that's angled in there, so I don't think that will make a piece of double track for me. It will complain, so I'll have to delete a little bit further back. What a meaty construction sound there. Okay, so we've got that connection there. So I could delete it, or I could actually, the ends of platforms are signalled, so you don't necessarily have to have a signal. So actually I think I'll leave that for the sake of not breaking anything or doing something that confuses me later. Okay, so we've got a connection to a depot, but only if you're coming from this direction. Which should be fine. Trains don't have to return to the depot for anything. So let's make our new passenger line. And I'm just going to call it passenger since there is nowhere else to go. I'll make the first station over here because that's the only one you can get to from the depot, and the train will probably get confused otherwise. Alright, he's set up. We need a train. Now we're waiting for things to happen here, so now I've stopped messing around with the track and potentially breaking things. I'll keep an eye on this train to make sure I haven't broken anything. I'll buy the train. What's going on? Oh, we've got a new type of train. So he is super expensive to run, but goes 5k faster, and he's quite a lot more powerful. I'm not sure how big my passenger service needs to be. Well, I've got a lot of stone waiting now. Okay, so let's stick with our sort of middle-sized train on Thames Fate. We've got a couple of different types of passenger car. So that passenger car only does 40, so it'll slow down my locomotive, so we'll go for the bigger, faster one. 8, so let's go for 3 to start with. Pop him on his route. So stone and tools is just crazy. Got 198 waiting stone. 101 tools. Ah, my new train's not going, he's not happy. Let us put a signal in. I should probably extend that train again. Before I do that, let's buy some more vehicles. Tools to tunnel site 2. Tools to workshop 96. Why do all the tools want to go to the workshop? So that actually means I may have too many. Some of these don't even have any have no tools to carry now. Alright, now let's transfer some of these. So if we click on the line, we can look at all the vehicles that are attached to that line. So let's pick some empty ones so we don't lose any stone. And we will reassign all of these to workshop. It may be that I've oversupplied the tunnel site. Okay, so no buying. Let's have a look at the tunnel site's details. Production 20, limit 20. Yeah, it's already got a load of tools stored up. Keep high production to upgrade in 5 minutes. Right, we'll let that sort itself out. Let the train drop off a stone and then give it more carriages. Waiting for any of my stations. I may need some more local transport to get people to the stations there. Oh, I don't know. Let's add some more wagons. Now there is a lot of stone up there, so how many should I buy? Now, I think the length of the sort of standard platforms in these is 160 metres, so that's well within its capacity. We'll go with that. Don't want to make them too heavy for these little locomotives. Stone. Passengers at any of my stations. So we'll look at some little bus networks for these guys. Go to passenger, and I think we'll just go for the little stops on these, sort of toy level anyway. So that's I mean, that covers almost the whole of town by itself, but we'll pop one up this end. We actually covered less of town this way, so maybe they can trundle along. It's not highlighting the other side, that's interesting. Alright, well let's go for that side, and then this side down here as well. Get our depot. It's a new line. Lucerne, wasn't it? Call it closer bus. So it goes around here. We'll just put one vehicle on to start with, see how it goes. Now we can actually have a motorised conveyance. Is he worth it though? He lasts a lot longer lifespan. Maybe we'll try him out for the hell of it. Oh whoops, I didn't successfully rename line 1. You've got to hit enter after you enter that. Go. It's a slightly bigger town, so and we've got space by the looks of it for a proper passenger bus station. Now what I could also do is connect that small road in, which will increase the area of effect, I think, of this. So we put that in first, we'll see the difference. So if we go back, so we've got this one, see it goes down to about, at the maximum, about down to this crossroads. It's not covering the stuff on either side, just the closest side. So go for the small street, which will take up some space. Connect that in. We'll see if that's made any difference or not. A small amount. I think it's covering maybe another one house on the other side of that road. But roads are cheap, so that can be worth doing to improve the connectivity. And it also encourages it to build a few more buildings around and about here. We can improve the density. So, our other stops. So if I pop it, it's interesting, it only actually covers the one side of the road, which I hadn't noticed before. So I might want to put one on both sides. So the people down here, well down there it's covering both sides. So let's pick people up from over here. Then we'll pick up some on both sides of this road. That. Well, that seems to get lots of people, so I'll place that there. This is Altdorf. It actually gets rid of the town names while you're in this line view. So if you're trying to name it, you need to remember what the hell it was. So we get there. You've got to pay attention to sides of the road in your order to get a good route sometimes. And I've just done it wrong because I'm used to driving on the other side of the road. So that's always a little bit of a challenge for some of those. So those of us who are in the UK. What was I doing? Okay, so he's coming down on the right, he's turning around, he's coming back on the right, then he is coming down here on the right, then he'll be turning around, coming back. Cool. He's done. And we've got a road depot here, so we just... Oh, that's not the depot. That's still not the depot. Ourselves one of these again. So hopefully I'm not suddenly going to find out that I need a load more money and I've just spent it all doing the passenger stuff before I was supposed to, which does happen, but I get kind of impatient waiting for these things to tick up. zoom out and see if some passengers appear at any of my bus stops. If not, you may find there's a sudden skip here while very boring stuff happens. Yeah, there definitely is some changeover time. These aren't treated as an integrated thing, and it is a stop and another stop, and people have to walk, move in between them instead of goods. The stone train's very full. Some people for the bus. Well, that train's probably going to lose me a lot of money, but at least it isn't actually being used. And I am breaking it in with the stone.
The workers live in pigsties, and they have to use their daily wage of 3 francs and 90 centimes to pay not only for their food, accommodation, and equipment, but also for the oil for their lamps. At least they also get a liter of wine every day to get themselves lit, too. Apparently that isn't enough for them. They're blocking the entrance to the tunnel and will only clear the way once they receive 1 franc more per day. What to do? If we don't want to pay that out, we could hire the police from Uri to beat down the leaders. Or we could at least meet them halfway and provide better tunnel ventilation.
A month, so that's 600,000 a year. It's pretty much going to wipe out money. The tunnel ventilation, so that means it will take a bit longer to finish the hauling away, but that actually makes me more money. It looks like I can probably afford to increase the pay, I don't know if I need more money later. So let's go for the pay, which will get this done quicker. So it looks like we're back to the weight now. So why don't I check how stone is doing. Stone's all for the workshop. So the tools are all for the workshop. So my production's gone down massively on the stone. Maybe that's because of the workers' strike. Looks like it's creeping back up from 0 possibly. So I should have a look at some of these vehicles. Reassign a few, because these look very empty for the most part. We'll come back to that later and see how it's going. Our bus service might actually be getting quite busy at this rate. Let's see if it gets filled up at any point, although I should consider another one. I'm into double digits. The heat's full up. They're not leaving anyone behind so far, so we're not making that much money either. So we'll see how those go rather than just buying another vehicle. Save here. Don't have a very exciting save name structure. Right, so our buses are probably like he is going to be filled up. Slow speed again, go back to fast speed. Because he's got to... We might be leaving people behind here. How many people am I leaving? 3. That's enough to mostly fill another bus, so let's go. Of course, not only there are we making hopefully a little bit of money out of our bus network, but it's also hopefully feeding passengers into our train, so it should make that more profitable. Let's see if he's actually making any cash. Oh, that's... Oh, he's near break even actually, and that's a reasonable number of passengers in there. Ah, and he's into profit. Okay, that's good. The passenger line's probably going to be self-sustaining now. So we've got tons and tons of coal, stone, waiting to be dragged away. And we're going to finish our 500 in another 3 trips after this. What we could do is... Now that train is fairly long, and these are not powerful locomotives. So probably the next step really would be to add an additional train. But that would then involve dualling all of this track with signalling. Either dualling or adding some passing places onto this as well. We don't know how long this mission is going to be. If this was your proper game, a sandbox game, you'd definitely get on with that now, assuming you had the cash. But in this instance, I might just play wait and see, because we may not need this train much longer. So you can sort of see this outline over the top here. You can see it's curving down, so I guess it must be quite far through now. Let's spin our view around. So there's the stub of track it's going to attach to. It's still got some distance to go. I think it moves proportionally to the stone. Now really we ought to be able to see some ventilation tunnels up here or something, but I guess it's not quite that detailed. So if I hit escape to get out of build mode again. Now production is still at 20. That's a lot of stone. I do wonder how essential it is to increase the hauling. Of course they're going to ask us to introduce a passenger service straight through, at which point I'm probably going to need to dual the track anyway, so... One thing to note here is you have this freight station in the middle of the one line, and obviously it's got one track going through it. Now you can actually do upgrade on a station and add length or number of tracks. So in this case, you're not going to be able to add extra tracks or length, but sometimes you can do it. It's also got this option for second street connection, which I've never tried. Okay, so that's on the other side. That could definitely be useful in places. Let's see how much this goes up while the train's busy. Oh, we've got an alert there, flashing up here. So industry reporting a problem. So it will actually tell you up here problems with vehicles as well if they've got stuck. So it is worth looking at. Try to ship more items. Yeah, it's not very happy with my my train service, it would seem. Having said that, the amount of stuff in there is not going up anymore, and the production's down, but that may be because they've run out of storage. However, the fact that it's not actually going up anymore makes me think it's probably not going to be worth purchasing another freight train. So maybe our little bus that can't anymore might be a bit overstretched. Yeah, it is. Okay, we'll add another bus on that route. So I've got off the screen. Okay, that's the one. And now they're in a convoy like all good buses should be. So yeah, the tools to the tunnel site is still very low, and tools to workshop is very high. Let's see. He's got some tools. Let's do one of our returning ones. We'll swap him over. Yeah, they're certainly not going out full. Maybe I'll swap another. Quite a lot of people waiting there. More than the train can hold, in fact, so I may need to upgrade that train. 15 passengers there. So I think we're at 24 passengers, won't we? It's not a big surplus, but it is a surplus. Our buses are spaced out now. Of course, the front bus gets all of the passengers.
The time has come. We've broken through. After all the stress, it's a miracle we didn't drop dead in the tunnel before the final cut. Now all we have to do is complete the rail line and our Gothard Railway will be perfect.
Okay, so we will complete the railway line, but I wonder if it's going to want us to also send a train. Now they kindly provided a stub. Now you see we've got some tricky contours here. So this will need some decisions making on what we want. So I'll probably go with the outside track again first. And you can see there's a bit of a crease there. We we're going to try and follow up the contours, I guess. So, yeah, if we follow that little bit of a crease you can see there, that looks like the path of least resistance. It's still climbing faster than the track can easily. But yeah, we're avoiding a tunnel, we're aiming for that point there. Looks good. We'll try and stay slightly to the right in case we need to add a second track. Now our curvature can't easily follow that contour. That's getting deep there. Don't want it to curve around too much, it's got to curve back. This looks alright, we're recovering our spacing. Now, annoyingly, because of the trees, you can't actually see where the contours are here, but we should just be able to go up the middle. It's a very deep cutting. That stubs at a bit of an angle compared to the valley, so better curve it around here before I make too much track on the other end, and I'm not sure where I'm joining up. Oh, well that was lined up a lot better than I was expecting. Okay, that looks nice. Starting to get a little bit low in cost.
The rail line is finished. Now it is time to cover ourselves with the glory that is our due for this marvel. There's nothing standing in the way of the opening ceremony anymore. So let's get going and celebrate.
Okay, so we've already built the other end. Okay, so as it's a one-off, I can just send the stone train home to the depot to clear out the way for our passenger train, instead of bothering to have signals or anything complicated like that. And he is near the depot, so that's good. I'll adjust our line for the passenger train. So he's going Lucerne, Altdorf. I'll click on the last one there and click add station. That will add afterwards. And then we'll pop him back through the middle station so that he calls again. Although likelihood is this mission is going to end before he ever gets that far. That looks good. Let's watch his progress. Well, I think he's heading in the wrong direction. No, he's going the right way. We'll see what happens. So the stone train is parked. Oh, and he's heading straight on. So let's track our little train you can. Quite nice graphics close up. We've watched all our horse-drawn carriages moving along. Enjoy the scenery. And then the detail just swing in there. I'm not sure what happens when you get the tunnel. Oh, okay. That's new. God, it's like a toboggan. Oh no, I forgot about the legendary mountain crystal. Oh well. Oh no, has he got to get back? Oh, 0 and 3. Right, so he's off. Okay, so maybe he's got to do all of them. So in the meantime, we can waste some of our money. Now we've hopefully achieved all the other goals. Actually, what I may do is save here before I spend all of my money digging a giant hole in the ground. Okay, go! So we use lower terrain. This is just costing all of my money. I should just double check that. Points toward the legendary mountain crystal. Turn over every stone in the rock formation. May have to reload from this because it's not good.
The money is slipping through our fingers. We'll soon be bankrupt. But if we're prepared to grovel on our hands and knees, our financiers will grant us a bridge loan.
So I've actually done quite well there, and this is probably the first time I haven't taken on any of the additional loans. I'll just exhaust my money and then reload because I don't really want to waste that. I mean, I've practically levelled the mountain. Well, that's a mystery for another time, I think. Let's reload. I'm slightly surprised by how long it takes to load some of the stuff on this, although I have almost completely filled up my SSD, which may explain things. Okay, you can go away. Back to full speed, and where is my passenger train? There he goes. We've got a passenger waiting at the other end now. It was actually quite full up still with passengers. I guess nobody wanted to go to the other side of the Alps after all. Rather unfortunate. We enjoy the train passing through town. Oh, you can see a little man playing everything. Now, so far, I haven't seen any road vehicles get crushed by trains like in Transport Tycoon. That platform's actually quite busy. Something higher than see through the door at the end, through the window and then through the door. There's people inside. As we said, the guy on the footplate looks, I don't know, he's just dressed a bit like he might be the Fat Controller before he got fat. Cha-ching! So it's that times 3. So our bus is there, Adu. What I could do is build a bus at the other end while we're waiting. Oh, there's a lot of... I'm going to need a bigger train. Well, I would, if this game was going to last more than another few minutes. Which I mean does make the bus route seem a little bit pointless, but you know. Okay, so you cover a pretty good area there. And then so placement is quite important. And you can see if I put it on sort of the side road, yeah, it cuts off people. So, so if I move away from the crossroads, I suddenly lose a load of stuff. Alright, well that covers almost the whole town from this end. Depot. Well, it's quite an expensive depot because of that hill. Let's be generous and give them 2. It's a new line. We've got to remember what the name is. Bellinzona. And we will add 2 stops, and off he goes. Ready to completely overload this train that just was not big enough.
Everyone is rejoicing. The new axis between north and south is open. A masterpiece of engineering. Bravo!
Small sort of toy levels. So I usually just kill them right there. And we got 5. We got 5 of the medals, all except for finding the legendary mountain crystal. I think I can live with that. Alright, well I hope that's been useful, and maybe we've gone through a few little tips there. There's definitely some stuff that hasn't been covered here. In particular, one of the more complicated things is signalling. It's actually fairly straightforward, but you have to be a bit careful with it, and there's a couple of things you need to know. So I might go into that in the next one if it gives us more of an opportunity for double track trains. Thank you very much, I'll leave it there.